Hello everybody, Raspberry Barrel here, and we're back at it again to read another Biography of Mewni. And today we're back with another biography by Infaminxy on a DeviantArt. And today we'll be reading the biography of Persephona, the Queen of Nature. I hope you all enjoy and are ready to get started. Please forgive me if I stutter, hesitate, or mispronounce anything, and for any noises in the background. Let's begin. A princess born with hair of green, exploring meadows and climbing trees, she will continue family tradition as a queen, while inside still wild and free. Persephona Butterfly, the Queen of Nature. Born 420, died 489. Queen 439 through 457. Married to Dominic Flowers. Children Saturnia Butterfly, Titania Butterfly, Metis Butterfly, Hyperion Butterfly, Rhea Butterfly, and Promethea Butterfly. Persephona Butterfly was born to Queen Sideria and King Dasos in 420, a few hours before the annual underworld Lucitor festival. She carried beautiful sparkling green eyes and silky light green hair with vibrant green trees on her cheeks. She also had extra marks on her bottom. Persephona was obsessed with nature as long as she could remember. She loved to venture in the gardens and forests, plant things, climb trees, and even talk to animals. Alongside her love of nature, Persephona was a heavenly girl. She was incredibly kind, empathetic, optimistic, enthusiastic, and friendly. Even Queen Sideria couldn't get mad at her when Persephona came back inside from playing in the forest and had mud all over herself. Persephona was very close to her father's side of the family. She loved having tea with her grandmother Magnolia. Her and Persephona were alike personality, so they were very close. She also liked exploring forests with her aunts and uncles. She was also very good friends with her cousin, Shatage Forest. She had turquoise eyes and green hair. While running around in the courtyard one afternoon, Persephona bumped into a boy and fell into a pit of mud. The boy immediately started blushing and apologizing, as he was heavily embarrassed. Persephona wasn't mad at all, though. She actually started laughing. She assured him everything was okay. He introduced himself as Dominic Flowers. Dominic was a little introverted and shy, but at the same time he was very kind, and also had an interest in nature. They started to play together every day from then on, and talk to each other. They bonded extremely well since they both had an interest in nature. In all, they immediately became best friends. Persephona and Zeusia were also extremely close, and Zeusia would tell Persephona the stories of her battles and studies. Sometimes Zeusia would use her magic to make rain clouds appear over Persephona's plants to help them grow faster. When she was 7, she was exploring in the Forest of Certain Death one day, a forest Sideria forbid her from exploring. Aside from a few cuts and scratches, Persephona was fine and knew the way back. Upon walking down the path, she spotted a wounded and beat-up baby dwarf in a ditch whining. She slid down the ditch and picked up the dwarf in her arms. She said, "It's okay," to it in a soft voice while petting it. It stopped shivering and whimpering and licked her face. When she returned back to the castle, she begged her parents to keep it. They couldn't resist her cute puppy eyes and gave in. Persephona wrapped his wounds in bandages and fed him some leftover meat from supper. She named him Everwood. For her 8th birthday in 428, Zeusia received a Meunian oak tree seed. She planted the seed with Dominic, and every day they would together go to water it. Since Dominic was rather shy, he didn't have many friends. Persephona, being extroverted, tried to introduce him to new people by taking him to council meetings and bringing him to dances, which helped him get out of his shell, just a little though. On her 14th birthday, she inherited the wand from Queen Sideria. After the ceremony, she was trying to use a spell to rapidly grow a tree, which would later be known as Rapid Tree Expansion, her first spell. When the spell finally worked and the tree grew 20 feet taller, a blue-eyed, dark yellow-haired boy behind her yelled, "That's awesome!" in an astonished voice. Persephona's wand, nature's breath. The boy and her spoke on the tree for a while. He was very laid back and chill. He also had an interest in trees. He was the prince of the Moses kingdom, and his name was Lou. Persephona and him became friends immediately, and she introduced him to Dominic. Needless to say, they also got along, and the three of them started to hang out together. Every time Persephona's family would have an annual picnic with each side of the family. That year, Cytherea allowed her to bring some friends. She brought Dominic and Lou. Among sitting at the kids' table with the rest of her cousins, she introduced Lou and Dominic to her very close cousins, Shitij. They all talked before forming a flags team to play against the forest and the butterflies. Since they all had an interest in nature one way or the other, they got along and formed a little friend group. They would meet up at Persephona's oak tree and talk, go on adventures, explore the forest, etc. Moving away from her personal life, Persephona was excellent with her magic and very powerful after only 3 months of training. She made advanced spells to grow giant trees and plants from nothing, heal plants, and even, with time, regrow entire forests. She also created a spell to summon all the energy from a forest and shoot it in a blast. I'd never seen anything so advanced since Skywyn. She also used Bloodwed's spells as reference and something to go off of when creating her spells. During a ball for her 16th birthday in 436, she was talking the corner with Shitij, Dominic, and Lou when she was approached by an attractive boy the same age as Persephona, whom was the prince of the Laurel Kingdom, Phil. He invited her to dance and she accepted. Shitij looked at them dancing happily for Persephona. Lou just kept drinking his drink, bored, and Dominic looked at them dancing in jealousy. He tried to convince Persephona not to talk to him for the rest of the night, but Persephona told him to calm down. Dominic later found her making out with Phil, which drove him to be more jealous. It was no surprise when Persephona announced her relationship with Phil a week later. Her parents, Lou and Shitij, didn't really mind, but Dominic was filled with jealousy. Not only was his jealousy a problem, but his relationship with Phil was terrible. Phil knew how he felt about Persephona dating him, and due to that acted mean and rude towards him, as well as pushing him around. Dominic responded by being passive-aggressive towards him back. Persephona and Dominic had their first fight a few months later when their group was hanging out at the oak tree. They got in an argument when Dominic was trying to convince Persephona that Phil was a bad person, and she told him that he was being really rude. They ended up yelling at each other before Persephona stormed off. The next day, Persephona came crying to Dominic after her and Phil broke up. She explained to him that she saw him cheating on her with another girl. Instead of comforting his friend, he just told her she should have listened to him, which resulted in them having another heated argument. After that, they wouldn't talk for weeks, let alone be around one another. Disaster would strike in 456 when a tribe of monsters named the Zigorians kidnapped the Redbird, Firefly, and Forest Heirs, Persephona's cousins, as well as Prince Phil Laurel and Princess Lucitor. They left a note to Cytherea stating, "You have 3 weeks to pay us 300,000 suns, and we'll spare them, or else they'll see their last glimpse of daylight." Cytherea sent out a group of knights and soldiers to search for them, but came back with nothing. Now, being fearful for her children's lives, she sent them to the sanctuary for a few guards. Lord Flowers and Cytherea decided to send Dominic along with them in order to keep him safe as well. The whole time was awkward, and they tried avoiding each other as much as possible, but Persephona soon brought herself to start up a conversation with him during a campfire one night. They talked about the fight and made up. Persephona admitted that she should have listened to him, and Dominic agreed that he shouldn't have been so rude. He also admitted he had a crush on her by accident while spilling his feelings out, which Persephona responded by kissing him. But the kiss didn't last long, as Persephona's little sister Crepuscula started squealing after seeing her sister kiss a boy. Persephona, now embarrassed, started chasing Crepuscula, waking everyone else up. It had been 2 weeks, and nothing was found. Cytherea started to panic, and so did the ministers. Persephona wanted to help, and felt that she could find the tribe through her advanced nature skills and spells. After strong consideration, Cytherea sent her and Dominic into the forest to search. Persephona was able to use her ability to talk to animals and her nature spells to try and find them. Although they didn't have a straight lead, they were getting somewhere. Also, regarding her personal life along the way, Persephona broke Rule 6, as well as her and Dominic decided to go into a relationship. Persephona came across a fox on the 3rd day. She talked to him before he left. Apparently, the fox had seen a group of monsters carrying a few teenagers the day after the attack, and saw them travel down a cave 2 miles away. They eventually came across the cave and traveled down it until they came across multiple cells with the noble children and royalty in them. They managed to free them, but the Zagorians heard the noise and ran to the scene. Lou helped the other kids escape, while Shatage, Dominic, and Persephona stayed back and battled the Zagorians until they were defeated. When they returned to Mewni, Sideria and Dasos greatly congratulated them, and also greatly approved of the new relationship with Dominic. The group had a sleepover to celebrate as well. Persephona later became queen in 439, when she got engaged to Dominic. A few months after their marriage, Persephona gave birth to their first child, Saturnia, a beautiful lavender-haired, blue-eyed girl with purple 8-pointed stars on her cheeks. She was also born during the brink of a morning when only one star shone in the sky, indicating Saturnia to be a star queen. Persephona's crown. Persephona gave birth to her second child, Titania, the following year. She had light green hair and blue eyes, with inverted dark green hearts on her cheeks. Sadly, the same year, Persephona's grandmother, Zeusia, and Magnolia passed away. Persephona grieved for many weeks, and it took a long time for her to move through the passing of her grandmothers. Persephona mainly focused on creating her nature spells in the following years, and even created spells to breed plants together. Persephona had her first boy in 444, Metis, a boy with Persephona's eyes and Dominic's hair. During a stroll in the forest with her dwarf Everwood, she came across ancient stone tablets with high Mewnian inscriptions on them. When translated, they gave instructions to a powerful nature magic that could regrow forests and even control animals. She came to the forest every day to study the magic, and over time based spells off of them. Persephone gave birth to a pair of twins in 446, Ray and Hyperion. Ray had blue eyes and orange hair, with dark blue fruits on her cheeks, while Hyperion had green hair and turquoise eyes. Persephone took notice of Saturnia's astonishing intelligence. She was far above average in math, reading, history, and other education for her age. She had also won multiple awards. Persephone highly congratulated her on her knowledge, and was proud of her daughter. While Persephone didn't pick favorites, many servants and maids reported seeing Persephone spoiled Saturnia and gave her a bit more attention. While Saturnia's other siblings didn't mind much, Titania did, and she formed a rivalry with Saturnia, and they would often fight a lot. Saturnia was so intelligent, Persephone sent her to Elfindor when she was only 10 years of age, at the wishes of Saturnia herself. Disaster struck when a group of hunters accidentally set fire to the forest near Garbage Beach. The fire raged on. Nobody had any idea what to do about the horrific inferno, but Persephone had won. She summoned her butterfly form and casted her forest revival spell. Green light completely engulfed the forest before it faded away, leaving the first gone and everything in burnt good as new. Many reports had been filled about hunters going missing in the forest of certain death. While it was common knowledge not to go into the forest for its name, it didn't stop reckless hunters from going in it. Persephone then passed a law that no hunting could be done in the forest unless you were of the house forest or you received a specific authorization from the queen herself. She had also claimed specific places completely hunting free for wildlife to roam and not be harmed. Persephone started a project in 452, in which she would add 23 new gardens and courtyards to the castle, like Queen Florencilia and Bloodwood had done. The reason was for birds, squirrels, and other animals to roam in the area, and besides, she loved nature. The project was completed the next year. After another fun night with Dominic, Persephone discovered she was pregnant once again. During her pregnancy, Persephone had created many national parks, especially in the Jaggi Mountains. These parks served as tourist attractions as well as protection of the land and environment. Persephone gave birth to her last child in 453, Promethea. She had pink hair and green eyes with pink oval shapes on her cheeks. Saturnia returned in 454, and a huge celebration was held, in which Titania was spiteful the whole time. A few months later, Saturnia earned the wand and made extremely advanced spells. When Saturnia inherited the wand, her relationship with Titania only worsened, and Titania tried proving herself as better than Saturnia in hopes of becoming queen instead of her, but of course she was ignored and put down. Persephone was extremely astonished with Baby's report. She scored a little over Skywind's level. As a reward, Saturnia was allowed a trip to the Cruna's Caribbean islands. Saturnia married her husband, Thomas Fields, in 457, and her coronation was scheduled to happen the next week, but Titania's final straw had been pulled. The news arrived to Persephona about the attempted murder of Saturnia the night before her coronation committed none other than Titania herself. Titania thankfully survived, but she wasn't able to speak or move her neck for a week due to being stabbed in the neck. The coronation had to be postponed for 2 weeks later. Persephona confronted Titania and shamed her for doing such a horrific thing. She dragged Titania out of the castle while she screamed like the psychopath she was. Persephona threw her out of the gates of the castle and banished her from Mewni, telling her to never return. Persephona later saw the birth of her granddaughter Dirghenia the same year, and 2 years later Crescenta. Persephona had a great relationship with her granddaughters and always took them on hikes and even gave them pet dwarves for their 6th and 4th birthdays. Sadly, Evergreen passed away in 471. Persephona was heartbroken at the loss of her beloved dwarf, and to remember him, she buried him where they first met, and in the same spot erected a statue. The same year, she witnessed Dirghenia inherit the wand, and 2 years later witnessed it be handed over to Crescenta. Persephona saw her granddaughter Crescenta become queen, and the birth of her great-granddaughter Mars in 480, and had a good relationship with her as well. Persephona passed away in 489 of old age, and was buried in the ancient crypts and reunited with her family. It's said that day she died, all the nature mourned, while animals being depressed, and trees falling mourned the death of Persephona. Persephona kissing Dominic in 436. And that was the biography of Persephona, the Queen of Nature, by Infaminxy on DeviantArt. Make sure to go check out Infaminxy's page, which will be linked in the description. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoyed, and have a great rest of your day. This is Raspberry Barrel, signing out. Bye-bye!